Trump's executive order that got the U.S. out of the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, but I'm not sure a lot of folks could really understand why it is that I'm opposed to the TPP in the first place. When you start getting into the nitty-gritty, a lot of people don't even really know what's in it because it is so secretive. That's part of the issue that bothers me. We're talking about an agreement being made between heads of state, between bigwigs, between corporations and governments cooperating together to help themselves, generally speaking, at the expense of the everyday person. If I want to do business with Joe Blow down the street, I just go and do business with him. I don't think it should be anybody else's business who I do business with. It shouldn't be anybody else's business what kind of rate of exchange we have for our services or products. It shouldn't be anybody else's business in any way, shape, or form. And when you have agreements like the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, you're creating this trade bloc where all of these nations are agreeing that they are going to focus their trade. Basically, you penalize those who trade outside of it. It creates this barrier to entry, which I think is totally against voluntarism. And of course, the idea of losing jobs overseas, a lot of people are bent out of shape about that. Look, jobs will go where people are willing to work for less money. When they make an agreement like this that allows businesses to go around the market forces to get their cheap labor, to go around the market forces to get their trade partners, to go around the market forces and use politics to insist that certain people do business with them, that's what I have a problem with. I'm against all kinds of trade agreements. I really am. When they start using words like free trade, like NAFTA, North American free trade, it's not free trade. It's the opposite of free trade. It is a barrier to free trade, and that's what I think ought to be removed. I want to get rid of all the barriers between me and my neighbors. I want to get rid of all the barriers between you and your neighbors. You ought to be able to associate with whoever you want to associate with. Whether we're talking about doing business, going to a church, hanging out as friends, having a beer, whatever it is you do, you ought to be able to associate with whomever you want. That's the freedom of association, right? It's supposed to be enshrined in this Constitution, this holy writ that somehow people think has magical power. It doesn't. It's a piece of paper like anything else, right? Where the power comes from is people who are willing to say, no, I'm sorry, the law has been changed. You cannot do that. And if they can do that with trade, then they can do it with anything. They can do it with churches. They can do it with clubs. They can do it with family members. Whatever they want to do it with, they can do it if you give them the permission to do it. That's where I'm coming from with this, is that we need to stop supporting this idea that somehow business needs protection. If it's truly a free market, it will work itself out. You don't need to have a free trade agreement of any size, any shape, any color. So this is why I was against the TPP, for the same reason I was against NAFTA years and years ago, for the same reason I'm against any kind of monopoly or trade arrangement that sets up a barrier for others to entry. That's why I'm glad that Trump sabotaged it. Now, whether he should have done it at all is an entirely different issue, which we can talk about some other time, about the idea of executive orders and how we have basically degenerated to the rule of one man. But then again, we've been there for some time, haven't we? That's my point of view. If you'd like to engage me on this issue, send me an email, steve@radiofreespeech.com. You like what I'm doing, please support it either by buying a direct subscription at my website, radiofreespeech.com, or by joining my Patreon team. There are other options as well, including advertisements. You can send me an email to find out more, steve@radiofreespeech.com. Thanks.